Okay, hi there. It's Brian Sebastian, movie reviews and more, worldwide TV entertainment, women on TV.tv, iHeartRadio and Pandora and everything else around the world. I'm going to do my best, since I have a big mouth, not to talk so much, and I'm going to hand the format over to the girls. So Danielle, tell us who you are, what you're doing, in case we lose you. And then Cree, it's an honor and a pleasure to finally meet you.
Okay, as I understood, I have to present myself. I'm Danielle Martins. I'm a branding strategist. I am also the author of the book Rising Up from Mental Slavery, How to Unleash Your Infinite Potential. And I help authors and entrepreneurs to build remarkable brands and achieve sustainable success. And now I pass the virtual microphone to Kreesha. So present yourself.
Tell us a little bit. Myself. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, got you. My name is Kreesha Turner. I am a Canadian Jamaican. I currently live in Los Angeles. I'm out here because of music. Music has been my primary focus for many, many years. But I've definitely expanded into many other areas. I'm in the production and acting world. And then also because I was on a 5-year hiatus from music for the last little bit, I was also into stocks. And so I'm online. I teach classes on stocks and crypto. That's actually what you see behind me. It's Stock Bay class that I do on Sundays on this app called Bigo. And then I also do it on a couple different avenues. But so whether it's music or production and film, TV, acting, I also love, and I'm a big advocate for financial literacy. And that's the gist. And then I'm here with you guys today because I'm working on a new music project. So it's about kind of getting back out there and talking with people, meeting new people. And I'm excited to just continue my music journey once again.
Awesome.
Well, first of all, I love your eyes. Hopefully you can hear me. I love your eyes, and talk about your tattoos first.
Oh, thank you. I heard you said you love my eyes, but I didn't hear what you said after that.
Your tattoos, talk about those.
Oh, these aren't real. These are all henna. These are all henna. I'm a Gemini. So Geminis are known to be very indecisive, and I am right in there with the indecisiveness of life. So personally, I'm not actually, I could never decide, and I have 0 tattoos in real life. Because I just, the commitment, the long-term commitment, I'm like, I'd be like, let me change. So I just stick to henna, but I love neck tattoos. So this is a much less permanent way of expressing how I feel this particular month, or, I could switch it up.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
No, that would work. It would work. If you got a permanent one, it would work for you. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah. Oh, I thank you. Well, thank you. But as you know, in the world of acting and stuff, it's always a little less complicated when you don't have permanent ink on you. So the fluidity that it allows to not have anything or any particular things, there's an advantage to that for sure, especially when you're booking campaigns with brands. The less that you have of these kind of things, it actually opens you up to, I feel like, far more endorsement possibilities, et cetera, film role possibilities. So I also have to keep that in mind, just because I've been in entertainment for over 15 years, You
have a great story, and I love the fact that you're also from Canada. Talk about what it's like to work in Canada, and also what it's like to work in the United States.
Oh, well, I was born in Canada, and I was raised between Canada and Jamaica. And then when I first got signed, I first got my first major record deal back in 2005 into 2006. And I was signed to Virgin Records in America. But my management team, they were a firing force in Canada. At the time, my manager, Chris Smith, managed Nelly Furtado, Tamia, a bunch of really big Canadian acts. So I moved to Toronto, and still, while the duality of starting to work between America and the Canadian music industry, it has its own kind of lives. Like, as over the last decade, there's been so many Canadian artists that have stepped forward, like Justin Bieber and Drake, and we've started to understand that Canada has its own kind of creative pool. So it has its own energy. It has a much more cultural energy, I guess you could say, because to me, I always explain to people that Canada is a nation of immigrants. Everybody, that's why I've grown up identifying as a Canadian Jamaican, because everybody is associated to their heritage or where their ancestry comes from. And then moving into America, and I remember the first time I started recording, I did a stint in New York, and then I did a stint in Miami, and then I stint in LA, and just starting to understand American culture and the way that the American music industry was definitely an eye opener and a very different experience in so many ways. So there's fascinating pockets within the creativity, because within the urban world in America, it's like, African Americans, their culture was stripped from them. So they created their own, they created hip hop, they created jazz, they created all of these things within the urban American element. And then Canada, you hear when you're in the music industry there, you hear people's influences. So whether I'm a Canadian Jamaican, you hear my Jamaican influence, or you hear whatever influence of their heritage specifically. So it's fun to have that dual experience and exposure. And I think that's been part of my whole journey within this industry, is finding sonics that is not only true to me as an individual and is authentic to me as an artist, but then also understanding what can work on American radio, what can work in just the American marketplace in general.
Did you always knew what your passion was about singing, or did you discover by accident? Let's say like this.
It's kind of a dual, it's kind of two elements to it, because I've always been, neither of my parents are musical, and I've always loved music. So I started off actually as a dancer. My parents put me in dance when I was 4 years old, and I always knew the power of music. But as a dancer, music makes you express yourself through movement. And it wasn't until I was 15, 16 at the time, I was living and going to high school in Jamaica. Within the Jamaican culture, music is once again so dominant. Everybody sings. And it was when I joined the youth choir at my church in Portmore, Jamaica, that I first had the opportunity to kind of find a voice that I didn't know that I had. So I actually feel like I started singing a lot later than the average. When you hear stories of vocalists that are like, oh, I've been singing since I could walk. And I definitely have a very different story in that concept. But I always like to say this element, that I remember the first time I was standing in the youth choir. I went to a Pentecostal church. So it's, those of you who don't know Pentecostal church, they're very exuberant. There's a lot of activity and vibrance within the audience. And I remember for the first time understanding that when I was singing, I was the action creating the reaction. And as a dancer my whole life, I was always the reaction to music. So it was a fascinating kind of dynamic and power shift, that the experience of singing and seeing these people react this way. And for the first time knowing that I was the action that caused this reaction, that's what made me fall in love with being a vocalist and being an artist. That was the beginning for me.
So you got some new songs out now. Talk about what they are and what they mean to you.
Say this one more time, Brian.
I said you have some new songs out now. Talk about them and what they mean to you.
Oh, new music? What I talk about what it means to me? So I haven't officially released any new records. We're trying to release them, or we're projecting to release them in this September coming. Or drop a first single, which is like a warm-up single, because I have not released any new music in 5 years. But for me, this journey back into studios and recording and all of this has been intense, because one, I'm a lot older, and I've been making music, like I said, for over 20 years professionally, and trying to put my music out there. And there's something about lyrically wanting it to rest, with where you are as an individual, because to me that also brings to the authenticity of it. And there's also been an amazing evolution in music that excites me, and I feels like gives me the opportunity for people to receive my music much better. Because once upon a time, when I first started releasing music in America in 2009, 2010, I felt like I've always been a hybrid, like the same way that I say I'm a Canadian Jamaican. So to me, the music that was truly authentic to me was always a hybrid. I grew up listening to everything, but back then in 2010, music, hybrids were not necessarily on pop radio. I remember the label always being so specific about, oh, well, we can't do that because what category, if you got nominated for a Grammy, what category would that be in? Would that be in the hip hop category, or it was always a thing. But I feel like over the last decade, especially around 2014, 2015, where the DJs just started bringing this cross blend of so much music that now our pop radio is hybrid. So I'm so excited to be able to create what I feel like is more authentic to me as somebody that has such a duality with my musical exposure and my personal life upbringing. And the fact that radio and mainstream now accepts these crossbreeds of so many different genres, that to me is the most exciting part. We're in such a different phase musically and sonically within just the global and US market space.
Wow. What's the name of the new single?
I don't think I can tell y'all yet.
Okay.
I'll tell you. Y'all got to stay tuned. Just stay tuned.
Okay.
And we'll announce it very soon.
Awesome.
Are you going to get ready to do something with Soho Johnny in New York?
Say that again, Brian?
Are you getting ready to do something with Soho Johnny in New York for 911?
Oh, yes. I will be there at the gala on 9/11 in New York. Soho Johnny, actually, I just signed a new deal. So I'm part of the Soho family now, I'm super excited about that. And I believe that I will probably be performing. I want to perform. So, and I know they want me to perform. It's just about, am I doing new stuff? Am I doing old stuff? So we're just trying to work out those little fine details, but I will be there. I'm excited to be in New York for Fashion Week, and I'm excited to be at the 9/11 event with Soho Johnny.
So what are you going to do for Fashion Week? You going to do something?
Listen, one of the things that I love the most about being in music is its association with fashion. I've always explained to people that I feel like music is the audio and fashion is the visual. They're just two industries that go hand in hand. And I've been blessed over my career to have had some great exchanges with the fashion world. Many years ago, back in 2010, I opened and closed a D-Squared fashion show. And I've just always had the opportunity to be at fashion shows all over the world, sit front row, work with designers. And I haven't been in that world just because I haven't been in the music world. So I'm excited to go back to a bunch of shows. Even though it's going to be interesting how everything is going to be with the new regulations. Some of the stuff will be digital still, but I'm just excited to kind of be back out in that world and that landscape because, I love dressing up. I love just being in the world of fashion and moving around and in it. So it's going to be fun.
So you were talking about stocks and crypto earlier. Talk about that. Yeah, I see a smile lighting up. Talk about it.
Yes. So like I said, the last number of years, I became obsessed with the stock market. I started off day trading on the stock market. I started about 3 years ago, and the past year and a half now, I started talking about it online, just understanding that there was, and I didn't realize people didn't know about so much stuff in the financial world, even if it's not specifically stocks, but just simple ways of making your money make money, and putting it into an IRA Roth account, or just knowing exactly what a 401k is, or the different ways that you can just put your money into an index fund. And then obviously crypto became a really popular topic of conversation, with, speculation and people either believing in the technology or being against the technology. So there's so much just in this space that I just try to educate. Information is power. And I feel like this is something that they don't teach us in school, but I think is so important. Just some of the basics of where people how they can make money for them. So I enjoy it when you come into any of my stock bay, and I have a separate online or Instagram account, the stock bay, where this is all I talk about, and I do my classes. And once you get in there, you can tell that I'm very passionate about it. Like I love talking about the stock market. I love talking about crypto. And yeah, that's just my main thing. It's like I said, financial literacy is just key to me. It's so important. And the most satisfying part is when I have people that come to me and they're like, yo, Kree, you help me make some money. And I'm like, oh, that's all it's about,
I think that's great.
Thank you, Brian. I know, Brian, you froze for a second.
Yeah.
That's okay. I think it's going to come out okay. I have a feeling. Talk about this. Some of your older music, what's important, and what would you like people to go back and listen to when it comes to your older jams?
So when you go back and listen to my old music, I have music that's kind of all over the place. And this is, I talked about this briefly about how I felt like I am a hybrid, but once upon a time, the industry didn't really understand this. So, I spoke about how I'm also a Gemini. I've always felt like my duality as a Gemini has come out as a Canadian and as a Jamaican. And so when I first got signed to Virgin Records, they kind of took me all the way to the pop side. So I say they took me all the way to my Canadian side. And then later on down the road, I was signed to Capitol, then I was signed to Republic. And when I was with Republic, they took me all the way to the Jamaica side. So I was doing more dance hall reggae type stuff. And, from my first pop album to, you'll hear everything that's more pop, obviously related. You'll hear, I'm trained as a jazz vocalist, so you always hear my jazziness, regardless of the music that I'm doing. But there was, my biggest single for my first album, Passion, was called Don't Call Me Baby. It was the most played song on Canadian radio. It was #1 for 8 weeks across the country. It's a platinum selling record. And people will be like, oh my God, that's you. There's people who meet me now that they have no idea that was me. And then, fast forward to when I was a bit more in the reggae world, I had a single with Shaggy. It was called Reggae Dancer that has millions of views on YouTube. That one was it was pushed more internationally. And so you're going to hear the Jamaica side of it. But I feel like when you listen to my old music, you're going to get a piece of me. You're going to get one side of me or the other side of me. So I'm just really excited for people to hear my new stuff, because instead of it just being a piece of me, I feel like it's me as an entirety with the hybrid, with, the crossing of multiple genre worlds. So it's interesting to also follow my journey. So, but I hope people enjoy it. I hope they check out the old stuff too, but then also understand why it sounds so different sonically, and where, my labels were taking me. But it's all a part of the journey and a part of, my story as an artist.
What would be your advice for someone at the beginning of their career, for example, on how to navigate into these changes that the industry passes on, and still keep your authenticity through the changes, and not losing your identity, but not also losing opportunities? And sorry for the noise.
No worries. I was like, what is that noise? No. I have advice for aspiring artists in a couple different areas, because it's a hard landscape to navigate. At the same time, there's so many shifts that allow, the basement artist to have the opportunity for exposure and the ability to gain fans online without ever having stepped foot on a stage. But as an artist in the beginning, I always say two things. I say, perfect your craft. Because if this is something that you truly love and are passionate about, when you finally get the opportunity to be signed to a label or meet an amazing manager or find an amazing opportunity, people are going to want to invest in someone that they think is really taking this seriously. And when you're able to say, you know, I put my 10,000 hours in, or I've worked this hard, because for example, when I first started, I made it my full-time job. I was part of two jazz quartets. I was part of a gospel choir. I was in singing lessons and guitar lessons and piano lessons. I was writing and recording my own material. And I was actively on the underground hip hop scene, trying to perform every weekend, and just be at as many places as I could. And that's the second thing I say, is to increase your odds. You know, if the odds are to be discovered, you know, and all you do is sing in your shower, nobody's going to find you in the shower. You got to, if the world is about number, if the world is about odds, you got to increase your odds. So that's, you know, I know it's a little different with COVID, but I used to say, be on as many stages as you can possibly be. In this day and age, be on as many platforms as you can possibly be. There's so many different platforms popping up that have different audiences, that have different people who are paying attention to them. And if you want to increase your odds of meeting the right label person, or this right manager, or maybe another artist that you are going to create the most amazing song with and collaborate, you need to increase your odds. Don't just put your music on one avenue and think, oh, that's the most I can do. And once again, when you start to get those opportunities, people are only going to take you more seriously, because they see that you have the work ethic, and they see that you're serious about this and that you're passionate about this. And with that, you were asking, how do you navigate the changes within the industry? If you're on every possible platform, you never know which one, you know, Instagram might fall off the map. And then all of a sudden this new platform is going to be the next big thing. But guess what? Because you spread it out and made sure that you were present on every possible platform, you're ahead of everybody else, because you already got a profile on that platform, you know, that only, when you first heard of it, only had like 100 people or 100 artists on it. So within the movement of the industry, you always want to try and be a few steps ahead. And right now that is with technology, and that is with the type of people that we can reach. And you have to take it there. And then with sonic change right now, just because the world is at our fingertips, I think it's a beautiful space, because once upon a time, if a country artist, back in like 99, if a country artist released 2 albums and then all of a sudden released a rock album, people would be like, oh my God, are they going through a mental breakdown? Like this shift of different kind of music from one person was just so unimaginable. But now, you know, you can hear Rihanna release a dance record. All of a sudden she's releasing a rock and roll sounding record. Then she's releasing a reggae record. Then she's releasing, you know, a super pop record. People just now understand that the way that we consume music and the way that we are able to listen to music from around the world on a daily basis, the youth accepts these hybrids and these cross blends. And I think we're in such a beautiful place that we're only going to start to continue to hear new ways that music evolves, and nobody's going to judge it and try and put it in a box. So just know that if you're a new artist, you are so blessed right now that you have no walls set up for you to break down as far as genres go, for sure.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Talk about the first time that you heard your song on radio. What was your first reaction?
Oh my gosh. The first time I heard one of my songs on the radio, it was so funny. It was this song that's off my first album called Bounce With Me. This particular song ended up being synced everywhere. I was in a Kit Kat commercial for it. It was on Gossip Girl, Lipstick Jungle, Ugly Betty, Entourage. They synced the crap out of it. And I remember, this is before I was signed to Virgin Records. I was just active on the underground scene. I was at this like big gymnastics space, you know, where like people practice bars and they have the big foam pits. But I was there with a bunch of break dancers who were practicing like once a week. They would go there and use the spongy floor to practice like break dancing moves. And they had the radio on over the whole thing. And then one of my songs came on and like, everybody was like, oh my God, it's you. And then just, it was fun because I was with a group of people, which is not always everybody's experience, but it was so much fun. And that was the first time I heard my song on the radio.
That's funny. Talk about this.
Yeah.
Movies and your career. What do you have coming up on the movie side? Because I find that fascinating.
Yes. So I've been involved with a bunch of movies in the past. And I've also, in the last couple of years, dived into the behind the scenes. I got my first producer's credit with a documentary that me and my collective did. It's called Fidel Up Close, about Fidel Castro. And then since then, I'm a producer and an actor in this project called The Lineup that right now we shot a first episode and we've been pitching it to platforms and we have some people interested. So, but I can't talk about it yet. So I hope that I'm able to announce which platform it's on soon and then we can go into full production for the full season. And I also have, I can't talk about that either. I have another major project that we're like weeks away from signing the dotted line, but if I get this, knock on wood, I'll have a big announcement in regards to that. But there's just a lot of big things coming up as far as in the film world and TV. And I was thinking I can't speak on them yet, but I will announce them soon. And trust me, I'm so excited to talk about them.
Here's what I do know. You better come on first. You better come over to the studio in Hollywood. And then second of all, I want the link so I can talk about it. After all, it is called Movie Reviews and More. Duh.
Yes. I know. For sure. As soon as I know, Brian, I will get Elaine to hit you and we will be in that studio. I promise you.
Yeah, you'll be surprised who comes in with you too.
Okay. I like it.
Well, we were just at the Grammy Museum with a friend whose documentary we're breaking out later in the year. And they've already been on the stuff, so shows going back to last September. So I like to do things early so I understand where you are with everything right now.
For sure. It's like, and there's also a part of me doesn't want to jinx it. That's really what it is, because it's at those points where everything's already negotiated, but you just got to sign it, and it's right there that a lot of deals end up kind of falling through. Yeah. So it's part of me is also superstition. You don't want to talk about it, but I definitely have some really exciting things in the film and TV world that as movie reviews, we definitely have to come back and talk about.
Give your social media links for everybody. And oh, by the way, I just started following you.
Say that last part again, Brian?
I said, give your your social media links, and I just started following you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. I'll make sure I'll find you, both of you. I'll make sure I find both of you. My social media links, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all at Kreesha Turner, KreeshaTurner. And then if you're interested in the stock stuff, my Instagram is the Stock Bay, BAE. And that's pretty much it. Website, www.KreeshaTurner.com. Just find me, Kreesha Turner. That's me.
Danielle, you have one last word to say?
Okay, my website is daniellemartins.com, Facebook Danielle Martins, Instagram Danielle Martins Official. Danielle Martins everywhere.
So Kreesha, what piece of inspiration do you have for anybody who's coming up now, and what do you think of social media on your side?
Wait, say that whole question one more time.
What information do you have coming up for people to inspire them? And what do you think of social media these days?
What piece of information, something, and what do I think of social media? I missed this middle part.
Information to give people.
Information to give people. And what do I think of social media? I guess kind of just in a general concept, I think we are so blessed to be in an era and a time like this You know, to me, there's no excuse to not know how to do something. You can literally learn how to do anything online from YouTube. Once upon a time, our access, whether it's, you know, the way that I talk about financial literacy, the information to learn how to open a brokerage account, get on the stock market, all of these things are at the tip of your fingers. Or whether you want to learn, a couple of years ago, I had a contractor skip out on me. So I learned how to install pot lighting. I learned how to install a bathroom sink. I learned how to finish routing a shower and seal it, all on YouTube. So everything from the arts to information to learning how to play the piano, for all of these things, it's at your fingertip. It's on social media. You have access. What is key about your job as an individual is to be conscious of not being distracted by the BS, the garbage that is out there. You know, and for example, I have my artist Instagram page, Kreesha Turner, where my feed is my friends, my associates, other people that I work with. So I'm able to keep in touch with them. But then I have my Stock Bay Instagram. The only accounts I follow on my Stock Bay are all financial literacy accounts. So when I go on that feed and scroll, all I'm gaining is information about everything financial. Then I have another Instagram that is private, and all I follow is motivational, spiritual accounts. So when I'm in that mood, I'll go to that feed, and that's all I see is uplifting quotes, uplifting, you know, motivational commentary. So it's your job to know how to filter through it all. Otherwise, you know, on my Kreesha Turner account, I'm also following the Shade Room and I'm following gossip sites. So sometimes that's all people see on their feed. Yeah. So instead of being aware that they're missing an opportunity to learn something, whether they're feeding their mind in an educational manner, or whether, like I said on my other one, where I only follow inspirational stuff, where you're having an opportunity to feed your spirit, instead of just being distracted by Hollywood gossip that is not productive in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. We get consumed by it. Yeah. So we have the access to so many things, and it's such a blessing, but it is your job to know how to filter through it, know what is productive, and know how to maximize your time and your energy, and not be distracted with negative energy. Because sometimes I'll pass a bunch of the gossip sites, and then you'll notice your train of thought is more on a negative, because you'll be so mad for this celebrity who got dissed, and you're like, damn, they're so mean. Why are they like that has nothing to do with your world. So like I said, filtration, consumption and filtration are the two key things that I need everybody from 0 to 100 years old to know and to use consciously. So that's all I can say about social media.
I can't say anything else, so I leave it at that.
Yes.
But I will say this, Danielle, thank you for coming on, because she and I speak almost every morning, and I'm really proud of what she's doing. And I say this, Kreesha, thank you for coming on, because Eileen wanted me to talk to you, and we will talk soon, because we just talked, I think it was yesterday or the day before again. But I will leave this. If you see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours, because the world needs it. I'm Brian Sebastian. This is Movie Reviews and More, and we will see you next week.